Hey everyone, I am back from vacation and I have an update for you. I also have a severe cold thanks to all the sick people on the plane. I'll never fly during the holidays or cold season again, but let's power through this. In this episode, I'll cover news related to President Trump's meetings with Zelenskyy and Netanyahu, immigration related news, department updates, the push for voter integrity, and the Minnesota Somali fraud scheme mess. Of course, I'll end with the noteworthy tidbits. President Trump hosted Ukrainian President Zelenskyy at Mar-a-Lago in Florida, and before meeting with Zelenskyy, Trump spoke with Russian President Putin over the phone, having a conversation that Trump described as productive. After an hours-long meeting, President Trump said once again that peace between Russia and Ukraine is a lot closer, and he called Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, NATO, and other European leaders to give them an update on the matter. Trump also spoke with Putin after the meeting, and Putin told Trump that Ukraine struck Putin's residence in the middle of peace negotiations, and Trump expressed his displeasure if such an action were to have occurred, but hinted that he doesn't fully believe it happened. Trump offered to travel to Ukraine to speak with their parliament if it means ending the war and saving lives, and all conversations appeared to be positive and productive. Since this has been a pattern since Trump took office, I don't expect anything to change, but it's hard to predict anything anymore. Hopefully, peace between the two countries will finally arrive. President Trump also met with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in Palm Beach to discuss Israel's ongoing issues with Iran. Trump said he will support an Israeli attack on Iran if Iran continues their ballistic missiles and nuclear program, and he said they ironed out a few other difficulties in a matter of minutes. Netanyahu said Israel will assist the United States in defending Christians from Islamic extermination and persecution in Africa, and Trump said that if Iran shoots and violently kills peaceful protesters, the United States will come to their rescue. Last for this topic, Israel is awarding President Trump the Israel Prize for his masterful peacemaking efforts, and Trump will be the first ever non-Israeli to receive this award. On to immigration-related news. Almost 221,000 Americans have now applied to work at ICE, and Border Commander Greg Bovino confirmed that more than 10,000 ICE and border agents will be hired and deployed this year. A judge sided with the Trump administration in allowing them to share Medicaid data with ICE, and the Department of Homeland Security confirmed there will be more immigration raids and deportations in Tennessee and Minnesota. The National Guard has officially been deployed to New Orleans to help in immigration enforcement operations and to crack down on crime, and the crackdown on illegal CDLs also continues. California Governor Gavin Newsom is delaying the cancellation of 17,000 migrant CDLs, and he may lose $160 million in federal funding for doing so. The Department of Justice sued Virginia to block illegals from receiving $40,000 discounts on college tuitions because those discounts discriminate against American citizens, and calls for immigration restrictions continue, with Representative Brandon Gill saying it's time to severely restrict legal immigration, and Representative Ana Paulina Luna calling for an immediate immigration moratorium. On the flip side, a Biden-appointed judge ordered the Trump administration to keep South Sudanese migrants in America by extending their temporary protected status, and another Biden-appointed judge ruled to keep the temporary protected status for around 60,000 migrants from Honduras, Nepal, and Nicaragua. Let's switch to updates from the Department of Housing and Urban Development. HUD Secretary Scott Turner confirmed that President Trump called a meeting of his top economic advisors in Florida to draw up the most aggressive housing affordability plan in U.S. history, and Secretary Turner also said that policies aimed at surging the supply of housing will be presented for Trump to carry out this year. Turner found over $5 billion in potential fraudulent payments for up to 30,000 non-citizens and deceased people, with a large concentration of these rental assistance payments going to blue jurisdictions like California, New York, and Washington, D.C. The fraud was found to have occurred in only the year of 2024 under the Biden administration, with payment errors exceeding 11%. Shifting to updates from the Health and Human Services Department. HHS Secretary RFK Jr.'s 2026 Make America Healthy Again agenda was released, and it includes addressing issues related to petroleum-based food dyes, dietary guidelines, the definition of ultra-processed foods, infant formula safety, reform for food ingredients generally recognized as safe, front-of-pack labeling, chemical reviews, and nutrition regulatory science programs. The HHS is freezing child care funds to all 50 states, requiring each state to prove the funds go to legitimate causes by sending their data to the federal government, and once they do that, their funds will be released. Secretary Kennedy confirmed doctors will not be financially punished if their patients decline vaccines, and 5 states banned sugary drinks and junk food from SNAP, including Indiana, Iowa, Nebraska, Utah, and West Virginia. It sounds as though 13 additional states intend to do the same. Last for this topic, Minnesota may soon lose $2 billion in federal funding if the state refuses to comply with HHS and Trump's demands for documents and reforms under Medicaid. Let's move on to the push for election integrity. Assistant Attorney General Harmeet Dillon confirmed 22 states are now being sued by the Department of Justice to force election integrity compliance in the 2026 midterms, and she is investigating Minnesota for its voter vouching system, where one person can vouch for 8 voters' eligibility, including migrants. Senator Mike Lee and Congressman Byron Donalds both demanded the Senate immediately pass the SAVE Act, which would require citizenship to vote, and the congressional GOP is being urged to pass nationwide proof of citizenship and voter ID to vote, mandate paper ballots, and end universal mail-in voting. Switching to the Minnesota Somali fraud scheme mess. Nick Shirley's reporting on alleged widespread fraud in Minnesota's government-funded child care and related programs dominated the headlines and social media discussions while I was gone, with the core story revolving around a 42-minute video Shirley posted on December 26th, filmed earlier on December 16th. In the video, Shirley and an associate, referred to as David, visited multiple daycare centers in Minneapolis, many Somali-run, that receive federal and state funding through programs like the Child Care Assistance Program. Shirley claimed these centers appeared empty or inactive during visits, with no children present, misspelled signs like leering instead of learning, and doors locked midday, despite receiving millions in public funds. He alleged this pointed to massive fraud, estimating over $110 million uncovered in one day across the sites he visited, tying it to broader billion-dollar scandals in Minnesota's social services. The story exploded online December 28th and 29th, sparking calls for investigations into Minnesota and gaining hundreds of thousands of followers for Shirley. CNN interviewed Shirley on-site on the 30th, and coverage spread to other major outlets on December 31st and January 1st. The Health and Human Services Department announced a freeze on child care payments to Minnesota to investigate fraud, and Shirley expressed safety concerns, mentioning threats and/or bounties and fundraising for security. On January 2nd, Shirley appeared in further interviews defending his claims amid growing scrutiny. Some centers responded that visits occurred outside operating hours, and one center had children present when media revisited. State inspections showed licensing violations, but not necessarily fraud, but reports estimated some featured centers received $17 million to over $20 million in CCAP funds in recent years, with ties to prior fraud cases. Fox News tried to contact one of the Somali Learning Care Centers exposed by Shirley, but their phone number doesn't work, and Committee Chair Senator Ron Johnson said he is reaching out to Shirley and David to provide testimony and will subpoena all relevant financial records and documents. The FBI is sending crime units into Minnesota to investigate this matter, and FBI Director Kash Patel said the Somali fraudsters are being referred for denaturalization and deportation, and that what we know publicly is only the tip of a very large iceberg. Representative Tom Emmer said prosecution is on the table against Governor Walz and Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison because whistleblowers are coming forward with claims of retribution for trying to expose fraud. Shirley's reporting sparked polarized reactions. Supporters hailed it as exposing systemic corruption under Governor Tim Walz's administration, prompting federal action, while critics argued it as sensationalized, lacked context, and risked scapegoating Somali communities. It tied into ongoing federal investigations into Minnesota's social services fraud, estimated in the billions. Overall, Shirley's video single-handedly turned a niche local issue into a national political flashpoint, influencing policy and discourse right after Christmas. Now it's time for the noteworthy tidbits, which are brought to you today by Old Glory. Let me tell you about them quick. Are you looking for a gift for a music lover, or maybe some apparel to show off your quirky side? Old Glory has you covered. With over 300,000 officially licensed items covering music, sports, entertainment, and pop culture, you're guaranteed to find the perfect item. They even have seasonal gear. My husband enjoys the Beatles and Led Zeppelin apparel, and I love the Billy Idol apparel. I even found items for my fellow plant enthusiasts. This family-owned superstore is known for their quality and customer service, offers free standard shipping on all orders, and orders are shipped the same day you purchase.
My discount code gives you 15% off your entire order, and it's currently the best deal available. Just visit oldglory.com and enter in my promo code JADE, that's JADE, at checkout.
All right, let's get back to the tidbits. It was confirmed that Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt will not leave her position amidst her pregnancy, and she'll likely stay on the job for as long as possible. AOC, Gavin Newsom, Kamala Harris, and Pete Buttigieg all appear to have plans to run for president in 2028, with all four of them raising funds into their PACs. President Trump confirmed the United States carried out its first land strike against Venezuela narco-trafficking, hitting a docking area where they load the boats with drugs. A few more drug smuggling boats were struck. It's hard to keep track of the actual number at this point, and Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent sanctioned 4 more oil companies, blocking more tankers. Of course, we all know about Maduro's capture by now, but I'll cover that in the next episode. The FBI foiled another Islamist terror attack planned for New Year's Eve in North Carolina, and the suspect was apparently directly inspired by ISIS. Secretary of State Marco Rubio ordered U.S. embassies in the Western Hemisphere to report human rights abuses caused by mass migration. According to United Van Lines, California and Colorado are 2 of the top outbound states in 2025. President Trump withdrew the National Guard from Chicago, Los Angeles, and Portland, but said they will be back, perhaps in a much different and stronger form, when the crime begins to soar again. The illumination of America on the Washington Monument began, and President Trump had a national prayer gathering in celebration for America's 250th birthday. Bernie Sanders swore in Zohran Mamdani as New York City mayor, and he's the first ever New York City mayor to be sworn in on the Quran. San Francisco formed a reparation fund to give Black residents $5 million, but the city is worried they're not able to afford the checks because they have a $1 billion deficit. The United States ended 2025 with the largest single-year murder decline in the country's history. Elon Musk confirmed he is funding Republicans in the 2026 midterms to ensure a successful second half of President Trump's term. President Trump announced the White House doctors reported once again that he is in perfect health and that he aced the cognitive exam, and he also mentioned that he strongly believes that anyone running for president or vice president should be mandatorily forced to take a strong, meaningful, and proven cognitive exam. DOJ announced that over the last 3 days, agencies terminated and de-scoped 55 wasteful contracts with a ceiling value of $1.6 billion and a savings of $542 million. The state of Florida is considering banning paper straws because most paper straws contain harmful PFAS chemicals, exposure to which is linked to concerning health risks. The Prime Minister of Japan will be visiting the United States this spring. Lastly, the Ninth Circuit struck down California's ban on open carry firearms due to its unconstitutionality. That's all I have for today. I'll be back with another update soon. Until then, please like, subscribe, and share this podcast, and follow me on Instagram and X at Shades of Jade Pod. Thank you for listening and have a great day.